Well, welcome everyone to our December edition of the Small Business Webinar Series. I kind of want to make a couple small announcements before we kind of get into today's session. First of all, just a note for January, we will still stick with the first Thursday of the month as our general routine for 2025, but we're going to push that one back to January 9th for January, just because it's so close to the New Year's holiday. And so instead of January 2nd, that one will be January 9th. And we're going to have Deborah Jenkins from HRS Solutions, and she's going to talk about the top 5 for 2025, integrating the best HR strategic planning steps. So mark your calendars for that one. And again, it will be January 9th, which is a little bit off of our normal cycle, but so make a point to mark that one on your calendar. So again, January 9th for our next session there. A couple other announcements, just kind of on the flow of the session here today. Feel free to send questions in through the chat window at any point. And then you'll also at the end have an opportunity to unmute if you like and ask any questions. And feel free to send those in, even if it's something that popped up from a few slides ago. We can circle back and catch up with those questions when we get a chance at the end, or if we get a break in the presentation, and we will cover those there. So another tidbit about the whole series. First of all, the website from which you logged in, we do record all of our sessions, and we post slides when they're available as well with the recording. So if you want to share today's session with a coworker or someone else you think might benefit, feel free to refer them to the website. We do keep recordings of all of our past webinars there as well. So we've probably got about 3 years worth of webinars stored on the website there, and they can be watched whenever you like, whenever it's convenient. So please feel free to use those as a resource for you today. Today's session will probably be available on Friday, maybe at the latest Monday, in terms of the recording getting posted to our website. So just a little bit of back end work on our end, and then we get that out there so that you can view it or review things or share it with someone as well. Our sponsors for today's session, same group that's been supporters of this for quite some time. The SBDC Network, Montana Department of Commerce, the SBA here in Montana, Montana State University Extension, which is my employer, MEDA, and the Grow Great Falls Economic Development Group, which you see Rich there as a part of that team, and also the University of Montana provides some back-end support for this series as well. So those are the groups that bring this to you at no cost, so we certainly appreciate all of their contributions. So today's session, we're going to have Erin Townsend present, and she's going to talk about navigating the small business loan process. And just a little bit about Erin. She is originally from Great Falls, and she's been working in the financial industry since 1999, which I'm sure was when she was 10 years old, when she must have started there. So just got a wealth of knowledge about commercial lending, the process, seen lots of different things over her career. And she's going to share some about getting, ready for a commercial loan application, the things that lenders look like, and various things around that. So with that, Erin, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Sweet. Thanks, Joel. Appreciate it. And Rich for sponsoring. Glad you guys do this. I appreciate everybody taking the time to jump on the call today. I'll try to keep it interesting. Like Joel said, if you have questions, please ask them. We might as well take advantage of the time we have together. Let's see. Great. My slides aren't advancing. This button. Hey, look at that. There I am. Looks good. Okay, Joel gave me the thumbs up, so now I can get rolling. So like Joel said, I'm Erin Townsend. I've been in banking since the 1900s. Did my first commercial loan in 2002. You probably think I'm zooming in from a nursing home today, listening to those statistics, but I'm just really trying to let you know that I have seen a little bit of everything in the years that I've been doing commercial lending in the Great Falls area. The other tidbit, I guess, about me is that I do own a small business. My husband and I own the oldest scratch bakery in Great Falls. So not only do I lend to small business owners, but I live their life as well. So I like to think that I have a little bit of advantage. I can talk to them on their level, understand their struggles, realize that my financial statements that I receive might not be perfect because they're busy running a business, being a vet, being a baker, being a doctor, whatever it might be, not preparing financial statements. So I'm pretty chill to work with. We don't just work all the time, right? So the other thing I love to do is fish. My competition every summer is to get a larger walleye than my husband. Last summer was a toughie. He might have beat me. The other thing I do when I'm not banking, my husband and I have adopted retired racing greyhounds since 2007. So if you're ever looking for the fastest couch potato, let's connect. Greyhounds are cool pets. But let's get started. I don't want to talk about me all day. I'm pretty boring. We'll get into the meat and potatoes. So to be direct, when you're applying for a business loan, we really would like a comprehensive package. We're looking for all the details that you can provide us. If you give us more information up front, we'll be able to do the job quicker for you and in a more complete manner. We want to know who you are and what you do. If you've organized your business in an entity, tell us that. If you haven't yet, that's okay. Sometimes you start with a bank and then we figure out the rest later. But if you can share your business name, how you've got it structured, hopefully you're working with a CPA. If you haven't gotten to that stage yet, we're going to encourage you to do that. They'll help you figure out the best structure for your business and taxation, because there will be taxes. Let us know how to get a hold of you. Call, text, email, what's your preference? Contrary to popular opinion, bankers don't really work 9 to 4. So if we're working on something in the evening and it's okay to shoot you an email or a text, just let us know that. Sometimes Sundays are my most productive days. So just let us know how to track you down. If you have your tax ID or EIN number yet, go ahead and share that with us in your packet. But again, not a must. And again, if you've been in business a while, you're looking to expand, grow, change, acquire a new business, just let us know a little bit about your background. Again, not a deal breaker if you're just getting started, but the more background we know, the more that we can help. Loan request details. Yeah, we're kind of nerds. If you're a banker on this call and you don't think you're a nerd, I hate to tell you, but you're kind of nerdy. We really want to know all about your business. We want to know how we can help you. How do you plan to use the money? And be specific. Don't say, I plan to buy a building. Tell me, I plan to buy this building on this street and I need at least this many square feet and this is what I'm going to do with the building. Or I need equipment. Give me a list of the equipment that you need to buy so that we can make sure we have the proper loan to values in place and structure your loan in the best way to meet your needs. And then how long do you plan to repay the loan? We have a multitude of different loan structures we can work with, whether it's just an internal bank loan, whether we partner with the SBA or other lending partners. Let us know what you're thinking in terms of repayment, and then we'll try to find a way to meet those needs. We can't always nail it, but we do try. And finally, show me the money. Tell me how you're going to repay the debt. I know you think it's going to be a walk in the park, and you know the industry, you know the business, you know the competition, but you need to tell us. So the more you tell us how you're going to be successful and how you repay the loan, the more helpful your lender can be. The amount of financial information that we're going to ask from you is overwhelming. I'll just be honest. We want the basics. Honestly, what's on the slide that I hope you guys can see right now, thumbs up, Joel, yep. These are the basics. This is probably the minimum. So if you're already in business, we're going to look for 2 to 3 years of financial statements. We like to look at the trends, right? Is your business growing or are your revenues declining? And if they're declining, let's talk about that and figure out what changes we're going to make together to be successful. We also want tax returns. We usually look for 2 to 3 years of tax returns, business tax returns, personal tax returns. We'll talk about those in a minute. If you're a business that has accounts receivable and accounts payable, we do want those details. This tells us if you've got accounts payable that you need to take care of every month, and maybe a line of credit would be helpful for you. Similarly, if you have a bunch of accounts receivable that you're waiting to come in, again, maybe you need a line of credit to get you by. Perhaps we need to find a better, more convenient way for your customers to pay you online, mobile, whatever it might be. So your banker should be able to help you find those solutions as well. But again, it's just a starting place for us to see how your cash flows in and out of your business. We do want to see your full debt schedule, and that's not just a list of the loans that you have. We're really looking for the loan that you have, who you owe it to, what your monthly payment is, when you're going to have it paid off. You can even share your interest rate, because if we think we can help and save you a little bit of money, we'll make you that offer if the numbers look good. So share that detailed information on your debt schedule. We're probably going to ask for bank statements. I hate to say it, but sometimes people aren't totally upfront with their banker. So if we can look at those bank statements, we can really see that the cash is flowing in and out of the business. So don't be surprised if bank statements are requested. And then finally, not only do we like to look backward and see what the business has done, but we also want to look forward at some projections or forecasts. So let's see what you plan to do differently in the coming 1 to 3 years to make this request, this project successful. And honestly, like I said earlier, so my husband is an exceptional baker. Numbers aren't his jam. My veterinarian, I wouldn't trust my pets with anyone else, but he's a terrible, terrible business manager. So if numbers aren't your thing, that's okay. Work with your SBDC or ask your local lender who they would recommend to help get you on track. There's a number of CPAs in each community that can help get your books in order, even if you just use QuickBooks. So the more that you know about your business and your cash flows, the better that a lender can help you. So don't be afraid to ask if numbers aren't your jam. That's the nerdy banker's job, but we'll help you find the right person. And yeah, we want your personal information. I know it sucks and you think that all that should matter is the business, but the personal side tells us a lot. It tells us about your personal debt that you're carrying, how you've treated personal credit in the past. It gives us just more of a picture so that we can best help you. If you own, and I think this is pretty standard across, well, the 3 commercial banks I've worked for, if you own 20% or more of the business, the lender will expect financial statements from you. So we're looking for a personal financial statement that lists all the assets that you own, as well as all the debts that you carry personally. And again, the more detail that you give us, the quicker that we can work through your request and get back to you with an answer. And then more taxes, because we just love taxes. I hate them, but it's part of the job. So we are going to ask for 2 to 3 years of personal tax returns too. So if you want to have those copied or ready to email to your lender, that will again streamline the process. And then credit reports. So a bad credit score isn't going to throw out the deal, but it's going to make our job a little bit tougher. So we will pull a credit report, and if there's challenges on there, past bumps, I would just be honest up front and disclose those so that we know what happened and then we can work through them. Hopefully it was just a one-time thing and not going to happen on an ongoing basis, but we will pull your credit and we will talk to you about it. That angry cat is my favorite. So business plan. I've taken so many business plans home in the last 20 years. It's kind of embarrassing. I don't know what other people do at night, but I read business plans. We really do want to know all the itty bitty tiny details. And again, if you're not an expert at writing a business plan, connect with your local SBDC or similar entity and they can help get you a template so that you can prepare a quality business plan and be bank ready. That's what we're looking for, as a bank ready plan. We want a good summary. So what do you do? What's your mission? What's your vision? What are your values? Tell us a little bit about the company. I met with a company recently, and not only do they sell a product, they produce and sell a product, but part of their business plan or their mission is to give back. So it's specifically an expense or an expense on their income statement that they're giving X amount of their sales to a certain nonprofit. So if that's part of your plan, go ahead and disclose that up front. Tell us about your target market and please include your competitors. I can't tell you how many plans I've read where we don't even talk about the competition, and really the competition is always going to be a toughie for you. So be honest with any challenges that you've anticipated and how you plan to overcome them. You know, I think about Great Falls. If you want to open a new coffee shop, that's cool, but let's talk about how you're going to be different than the coffee shop on every other corner in town. Not saying that you won't be successful, you just have to have your cool niche. So make sure you include that in your business plan. Tell us about your overall operations. If you have a specific management team that will be in place, maybe include their resumes or their experience so that we know how you're going to be successful. These are all things that help your lender feel a little bit more comfortable with the application. Marketing is huge. And again, you can get a lot of help from your small business development center on this, but how do you plan to market your business? How much money do you plan to spend on that? What tools do you plan to use to market it? Are you just going to exclusively use social media? Will you advertise in a magazine, on the TV, on the radio? There's so many options. So make sure you include that. If you're looking to be part of a franchise, those fees will be built in by the franchise. But again, some of those costs are real, and we just want to make sure that you've considered it and then share with us how you plan to market it. And then I haven't heard a SWOT analysis for a long time. I know that sounds pretty college, old school, but let's list it, right? What are your strengths? Be honest about the weaknesses that you've identified, because there will be some. What opportunities do you plan to capitalize on? And then what threats do you see that might get in the way of your success? And then talk to us in the plan about how you plan to work around those challenges. The more that we can see that you've thought through these challenges, the more likely we are to be on board with the deal. If it's all rainbows and glitter, as I like to say, we might not believe that the plan is fully thought out. There will be challenges, so let's just address them right there in the plan. And man, we get pretty excited when we get a full application. So if you can give us all of these things in one fell swoop, we can really sit down and dig in. I can't tell you how often we start on a deal, request financials, then your deal gets pushed aside, a new deal comes in, so we start on that one. So if you can give us a full packet, we're Johnny on the spot for you. Collateral. Everybody hates to talk about collateral, but we love it. So what can you offer to secure the loan? You know, for most people, our biggest asset individually is our home. And sometimes that might be what you're asked, is to put a second mortgage on your home. So just be prepared to think about and discuss what collateral you'll make available to the bank. Who owns the collateral? If it's you, that's easy. If your parents or your significant other or your business partner plans to pledge collateral, that's cool too. Just be prepared to talk about that. And there's a bullet on the slide, and it says appraisals or valuations. I strongly recommend you don't order those yourself. Oftentimes banks won't accept an appraisal that's been ordered by the owner of the business or even the seller of the business. They want an impartial third party to prepare and order that appraisal. So all we're really looking for is an estimated value of what you think those assets are worth. Hate to have you pay for two appraisals. And then again, just who owns the collateral as far as ownership proof. Legal documentation. God, this is such a dull subject, isn't it? Many of these things will come later, so please don't feel like you have to go to your lender with this whole list. I just don't think it's realistic. But if you have an existing business and you're just looking to expand or grow, acquire a new business, you might have all these things in your back pocket. So the most common things that we need, if your business is going to require permits or licenses, just take a copy of those and provide it, or be aware that you're going to need them and note it in your business plan. Again, if you might need money for those things, we want to include that in any financing. I think about a restaurant with a fryer and all the inspections and requirements that they have. Just make sure that you're aware of that. Maybe you've pre-called to find out what your insurance is going to cost. Just be aware of some of those things for permitting and licenses. Hopefully, like I said earlier, you're working with an accountant. They'll help you figure out the structure of your organization, whether you'll be sole proprietor, LLC, a corporation. There are agreements and operating agreements, so many things that go along with each entity. The franchise documents are usually 50 pages long. So if you've done the work already to get those things organized, just provide them to your banker. And then finally, again, it's okay if you don't have it. Right? Don't feel obligated. Don't feel like you're behind the eight ball. Go ahead and get the ball rolling, and you can get the structure set up later. Next slide says, who are you? Our goal, by the way, as a banker is to get to a yes, right? The majority of my job is lending. The rest of it is finding other banking needs to make sure that your cash is flowing smoothly and you're making the most of the money that you're earning. So we want to get to a yes. It just feels like we're asking for a ton of information. If possible, I would include resumes of any key owners and managers. I'll say the bakery, right? Let's say we were going to sell the bakery to somebody else. I would want to see that they had a master baker on staff and that they have somebody that's experienced with scratch baking. Maybe their manager is going to be someone who's run a Panera in a different town, and they're going to be comfortable running our bakery as they acquire it over time. So any of those resumes that you can provide just makes the bank feel a little bit more confident that the new business plan is solid and should work. References are listed on there. They're nice, but they're not a must. But if you do have a reference that you think would be helpful, have them write a letter and include it in there. I think the biggest business plan I received was in a 3-ring binder. I almost threw up. I've never seen quite so much information, but I also have never seen a business stick to their plan so well. So if you have any like references, go ahead and tuck them in there. Insurance documentation, again, might be a little bit early in the process, but if you don't have it, don't worry. But if you do, or you know what you're going to need, just include it in the plan. I see we have an exceptional insurance agent on the call today. Make phone calls. I don't think they mind giving you quotes, even though that you're not quite ready to buy. So go ahead and do have conversations and try to understand what those costs might be. And then certain types of businesses or certain types of projects will require specific insurance. So just have an open conversation with your customer. For example, we do residential construction loans. So those borrowers need to have builder's risk insurance. No one else does in my portfolio, just my contractors. Perhaps the size of your loan or the management structure is set so that the lender is going to require life insurance. We have a restaurant here in town, and if the owner died tomorrow, that business would have to close. So knowing that that person is a key man or woman in this case, and getting insurance in place so that the loan could be paid off in the worst case scenario, we may require life insurance. So just be prepared for those conversations. And then there may be some specific property insurance needs. So just be open to those conversations. And your lender should be comfortable speaking directly to you as well as your insurance agent. So if you need to make those connections, please feel free. I think we're all pretty open to that and just want to get to the next step of the process for you and for the bank. So for me, the most important thing about this topic, I think, is that every single lender and every single bank is different. That's why there's so many banks, right? We're not quite as prevalent as coffee shops, but there's banks everywhere. We all have different policies, different procedures, different expectations. Honestly, I think you should, I can't believe I'm saying this, but you should meet with more than one banker, right? Every bank has different loan to value parameters, different loan tools in their toolbox, different lenders with different experience. Honestly, I think it's going to come down to a personality match in many cases. We have customers here in this portfolio at Bravera Bank that wouldn't want to work with me, and then we have customers that will have followed me to all my banks over my career. So I would encourage you to interview a couple different lenders and a couple different banks and see what fits you best. Some specifics though, each lender has their own loan application. So while you may come in with that 3-ring binder that I mentioned, be prepared that your lender might have a specific loan application that you do have to fill out. So just when you think you're done with the paperwork, we slide you a little bit more. We all have our own specific authorization to pull your credit. So be prepared to sign that as well. And then the compliance component of lending in this world is just off the chart. So there may be more compliance pieces, especially if we partner with the SBA in any way or our economic development groups that do lending. There could be stacks of paperwork. We've got a loan in process right now, and there's actually 3 lenders involved in it to have put all the pieces together and get all the dollars. So federal funds, local funds, bank funds, it's kind of crazy. So be prepared that while you think you're ready, we might throw more at you. What else? So I'm that nerd, right? If I can help you get the deal done, buy the building, get that new piece of equipment, automate your business, whatever it might be, honest to God, that's how I feel. I really have no more pride than driving around our community and knowing I financed that building. That thing wouldn't be automated without the loan we did. Oh, I can't believe they've moved from a lease space to a purchase space. So your lender should want you to succeed. Your lender should be this happy for you. And again, personality, if they're not, maybe you need to keep interviewing until you find that right fit. Again, all lenders really want to get your deal closed. That's what we're hired to do by our banks. We want to help you get across the finish line. And now I'm out of words, and you should all be thankful for that. So I think I'll just stop and see if there's any questions.
Well, thanks, Erin. Yeah, we had 3 questions come in, and again, people can send them directly to me as they like, or to everybody, or we'll give you a chance to unmute here in a minute and ask. But there's 2 that are kind of related, so I'm going to give them both to you at the same time that came in a little while ago. So part 1 of this is, do I need to move my personal banking to the same bank where I'm doing my business banking? And then the second question is, as my business grows, I'm looking to separate the business from my personal assets. What's the process for doing that?
Perfect. Okay. No, you don't have to move your personal accounts. Have I required that a business maintain their business operating account at the same bank that I did their loan? Absolutely. But no, you should not be required to move your personal accounts. I will say here at Bravera, if you, now again, not personal, but if you do have your business account here and you set up your payment automatically, you're going to get a little bit better interest rate. So there might be a perk on the business side of things, but I would say no to the personal. That's just my experience. And holy smokes, as your business grows, separating those 2 things out, the dream situation is where you don't have to have them tied together at all, right? It's just not real. So we're looking at a transaction right now. I bet the poor guy has 8 trades on his personal credit report that are all for his business. So when he tries to get a home mortgage, it's a process, right, to break all those apart. I think it's, especially after you've grown as the asker has asked, sit down with the lender. Let's see if there's a way that we can restructure the debt that you've incurred, and restructure the collateral that you put up and try to get it all moved over to the business. It might take a year or 2, but at least let's start that conversation and see what we can't get transitioned over. But it is very, very common when you're getting started to have to pledge some personal assets. I know no one enjoys that. There was at one point, gosh, I wish I could remember what year it was. We actually did take a second mortgage out on our home that was for the bakery. We had to purchase some equipment, and I mean, our equipment is literally from the 1930s, which sounds crazy. We had to purchase some equipment, and the easiest way to do it was just a quick home equity. So, but we also worked incredibly fast to get that thing paid off and get it separated out. So I'd say just have a conversation about what you'd like to do with your banker, and let's see what we can get done.
All right, thanks. And the last one here before I open it up to questions from the group here was, how long does it typically take from when a new borrower walks into your office to when a decision is made?
If you give us the full package and it's a straight bank loan and we don't have to engage the SBA or our friends, say at GFDA here in Great Falls, I would think a week to 10 days. So it just depends on your loan size, right? And I've worked for 3 different commercial banks. In every situation, I've had my own individual lending limit, so I can lend up to X amount on my own. If the loan is this size, I may have to take it to the regional president. If it's this size, it may have to go up to a loan committee. So really, it just depends on the size of the loan and when those committees meet. But I would think if you provide a complete package, you should hear a yes or no answer within 10 days. I just feel like that should be realistic. And if not, I hope that your banker's honest with you about that. I met with some folks the week of Thanksgiving, the week before Thanksgiving, I think. And then when they got back to their home, they sent me a request. And I said, I've got to tell you, I'm not going to be able to get this done in the 2-day time frame that you've asked me to get it done. So I think just being open and honest. I try to let people know if I've got a couple of deals in front of theirs, but complete package, 10 days. That should be your standard as a borrower. That's what you should expect from your banker.
All right. And I'm sure the complete package is part of the timeline getting
Yes,
to
sir.
that. So.
Yes, sir. Yep.
All right. Well, if anyone would like to unmute and ask any questions, now's your chance. Or feel free to use the chat window again if you'd like to.
I've got a quick question for Erin. First of all, I love the credit score slide. That's the best slide I've come across the webinar in a while. When it comes to startups, what do you? I know every loan's different, every client's different, but what do you think the table stakes are for skin in the game, like percentage of project?
Minimum of 10.
Okay.
So it just depends. I'm trying to think of a scenario. So we've got a business that will be, so I always want 10% skin in the game. I think that's a reasonable expectation. Why should we take all the risk? I want the owner to have some skin in the game. So 10's a minimum for me. In this situation, we're probably going to do an SBA 504 loan for the real estate. And since it's a new owner, we're also looking for an additional 5% down. So for that customer, it's 15. Same transaction, a little bit different though, Rich. We're probably going to have to do some 7A SBA financing as well. Part of it's business acquisitions, part of it's real estate. Even though we don't require 10% down from the SBA as a bank, I still want to see it. So I would plan on a minimum of 10% down. And it's, it can come in a number of different ways. Maybe you have some equity in your home and you're going to take out a home equity, which will give you the 10% down. That's fine. But we do want to see you come in with at least some skin in the game.
Can that 10% be some other form of collateral too, or does it usually have to be cash into the project?
Yes, and yes. So scenario, this is my brain. I can just think of examples of things that I've done. So we have a local business owner here in Great Falls that was expanding into another market, wanted to buy a building in other market. Instead of cash down, I did take the building in the other market and the building here. But he was an established business, known to the bank, great track record, years of successful cash flow. So in that situation, absolutely. Startup though, I like that green paper. I really do, even if it is in the form of, say, a home equity. I don't know. I think startup, Rich, I'm probably going to stick with cash.
Okay, good.
And again, like I said earlier, every lender is different. So that might be something where somebody wants to shop and get a different answer.
One other question, and then I'll be quiet. The personal financial statement. Does each bank usually have a certain form, or is the standard? There's a standard SBA form out there. Is that good enough, or is it going to want to be on your specific format for the personal financials?
We like ours because ours, by signing it, gives us the right to pull credit. So we typically prefer our own. Have we accepted something else? Yes. Has it been on an 8.5 by 11 legal piece of paper? Absolutely. We're pretty flexible, but ideally we'd love it on our own bank form. We could also take, have I taken a stinky form from Wells Fargo and attached it to mine and had them sign my form? Yes. So we're pretty flexible here though.
Cool.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions?
It's the holiday gift. Nobody's given me a hard time. Wow.
Going once. All right. It looks like we've covered most of the questions. Any other final thoughts, Erin, that come to your mind?
Just that and Joel, too, in addition to the recording, you'll have a copy of Erin's slideshow at the recordings page where people can go and download, right?
Yep. Erin, anything you wanted to leave the group with?
I don't think so. Don't be afraid. Don't be intimidated by the process. Banks, we're literally here to help you. So don't let things derail you. Don't be afraid. And also, don't get discouraged if it takes more than one shot. We're working on a transaction right now for a business to move from a lease space to buy their own commercial space. And literally, we started the conversation this month last year. But she had some changes she needed to make. And we're there. She's made the changes, and now we're ready to look at the commercial application. So get the ball rolling. There's no harm in having the conversation and seeing how it can come together.
All right. Well, Erin, thank you very much for taking the time to share a little bit of your expertise with the group here today. And for those of you that are viewing, just remember January 9th will be our next one, which is a little bit off schedule just because of the New Year's holidays. So hope everyone has a great holiday season, and we will see you hopefully on January 9th.
Cool. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everybody.